It's a podcast, it's a video, and more.
Okay.
Allowing your kids to have a voice, like, and express themselves and be people and like not be afraid to do that later. I feel like this will be my thing that I generational curse I will break. I think that sometimes, and I interact with people who are like me, I'm more like in authority with like in the eyes of authority, I'm gonna submit every time. I'm not gonna speak up. I'm not gonna say anything. If now outside of the house, yeah, but like at home, I'm gonna shut up. If I did something wrong, if we're fussing, I'm gonna shut up. I'm wrong.
Ooh, girl.
I'm not gonna speak. I'm like I can't. I can't. Maybe I could learn, but
You'll get there.
I get there. But like
Definitely
you will get
there.
there.
I got there.
Ooh, child, I got there.
I feel like it's gonna take like something big because like
It does.
Yeah,
It
something
does.
I think
it does.
I've started speaking up a little bit more, but I feel my biggest fear is to disrespect my parents, my family, my mom, my grandparents. Like
Mhm.
I will not. And if it means that you speak, I don't voice how I feel, I don't voice what I think, I'm shutting up, then that's what I do. And that's what I resort to. That's like my norm. I don't want my kids to feel like they can't talk to me or express, even if it's not like I don't think like my family does that to me on purpose, but I think I'm a natural. I'm gonna submit to make sure that there's peace and harmony. Whatever is gonna promote peace and harmony, that's what I want. So, and hopefully, I'm gonna try. We'll have this to look back at. With my kids, I want them to be able to say, you know what, Mom? Well, I disagree with you, but here's why. You can disagree with me respectfully, and we can have
But I think
conversations.
that's the difference between making peace and keeping peace.
Yeah.
And it's not really peace when you're trying to keep it because you're the one that's internally upset.
Right.
You're conceding to someone else and relinquishing your peace versus making peace, which is finding common ground. But yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't think more recently, like my mom and I are like oil and water.
Girl, it happens.
And
Yes.
it's crazy because like we're like just alike, but in the way we deal with things, we're very different. So like like the disc personality model. My mom's a D, strong, 100%. I'm an I. We don't get along. So it's we're learning now. We've grown tremendously, but now I sit and I have conversations with my mom, and I'm like, no, like I hear you, but also hear me and understand where I'm coming from and my feelings because both are valid. I hear you. I understand you. I understand your reasoning, but also understand that two things are true at the same time.
Yeah.
So that's important.
As an authority figure, I'm sure for her it's harder to accept that two things can be true because I deal with that with my mom, and like y'all have experienced like my growing pains with my mom because we're similar. Like we're similar in some ways, and like we know how to speak up for ourselves, and she raised me that way. And like so now that I'm like an adult and I pay my own bills, I'm like, no. Boundaries, ma'am.
Yeah.
And honestly, I think that was the big, like that was our biggest issue when we had our first like big change in our relationship was I realized what boundaries were, and I realized what my boundaries with her were. And because I was no longer in this, I won't say subservient, but in this like child position where you are the authority and I'm the child, but now we're equals. I'm like, no, I won't accept this. No, this is not okay. If you're going to talk to me this way, I will talk to you later. Goodbye.
Yes.
And she's like, that, and to her, that's disrespect. And I'm like, how is that disrespect? I didn't say anything rude to you. I let you know that I'm ending the conversation. I let you know that I'm feeling upset. And instead of proceeding with whatever I could say out of my mouth, I'm ending it. Goodbye.
Yes.
I don't owe you a response. And I think similar to what you said, like what they experienced or how other people have treated them, that's kind of how they like project that a little bit. So my mom is a baby sister. So I think she's experienced like her sister's always telling her what to do or trying to get her to do stuff. And she tries to stand up for herself. And I'm like, exercise some boundaries. You're the one that taught me, like, you need to be okay, being independent, being by yourself. You don't need to have to always, like, try to concede to somebody to make things work. You can stand on your own. And I'm like, so now I'm doing that with you. And now it's a problem.
When it comes back at you.
Yeah, exactly. It's a little different when it comes back at you. So she's gotten to the point where she's like, I see what you mean. And I see how I'm working on trying to do that with my siblings, because she's like, it's too much. Yeah. To keep the peace is too much. It's costing me more of my own like peace versus giving them what they want. Yeah. So it's definitely a boundaries thing. It's hard, especially because like this was your mom, you know, and you don't want to hurt your parent. Like they've done so much for you, so you feel some kind of way like with that change. Yeah. But I think it's made our relationship better. I mean, we still have, you know, tiffs here and there, but for the most part, she's more understanding. Yeah. Like, I probably went like maybe 3 weeks without talking to her. And it wasn't intentional. But for me, it was because I'm like, I know if I like, it's been so long, she's going to be upset that I called. So I finally like just, okay, Mom, I'm sorry. Like, I'm calling you right now and I'm letting you know I am so sorry that I haven't called you. And so again, she's upset. So she's like, well, why haven't you called me? And I was like, to be honest, this is why. Because I knew whenever I would call you, you were going to be upset. And I didn't have the emotional bandwidth at the time to deal with you being upset. So instead of immediately coming to you, I've just been withholding this because I haven't felt like I was in a place to receive this. Yeah. And she's like, well, you could have texted me or something. And I'm like, you're right. And so we worked through it. And it wasn't, like we found common ground. I'm like, dang, you're right. And she's like, I understand now what you mean. Like, I'll work on it. But please know, like, my anger is not towards you. It's just, I really care and I really worried. So I'm like, you have that exchange versus where before it was like and we go back and forth because I'm like, I'm gonna have the last word. And she like, I'm gonna have the last word. I'm like, well, I don't know who gonna have the last word, but it's gonna be me.
And it does something to your spirit too, because I like when my mom and I go back and forth, like it hurts me. Yeah. I hate to argue with my family. I hate it. So that pains me more than anything else. I don't want to do this, but I have to also have a voice. So we have to do it because otherwise I tend to, Sean's always talking vulnerability. Yeah. I'm not good at that. All of my emotions, I go inward. Mm-hmm. I don't express outward.
It's a protection thing.
Yes, I'm doing so much better. Like Desmond, my boyfriend, has been trying to pull it out of me. But I take all of the things that make me so upset, like when I'm angry with my family and I can't voice, okay, fine. I will leave. I'll be like, okay, you're right. I'll go within myself and I'm just angry. No one knows. Yeah. No one knows. I'm going about life regularly, but I'm just this ball of anger or emotion that eventually is going to boil over.
Oh, girl, yeah, you're going to have an explosion and people are like,
yeah, that's not healthy. No. That's not healthy.
Mm-hmm. But it's definitely like exploring. And I think also throwing the questions back at them, like, okay, what's really going on here? Yeah. Because that was something before I was able to really exercise the boundaries, that was something I was trying to work on so I could better understand. So what's really behind the anger? Because a lot of times it's fear of something, like fear of rejection or fear of something like you making a mistake and it hurting you. Like it's out of love, but they don't always know how to like really express it. And so it comes out in defensive ways. Yeah. So like maybe if you don't feel like you're in a space where you can be transparent or vulnerable, maybe open it up for them too. But I've also noticed for myself, not meeting their energy or matching their energy, which is the hardest part.
That is so hard. That's what I'm telling my mom. I'm like, if you come at me loud, we're gonna get loud.
Girl, listen, you raised the right one. Okay? But yeah, that's definitely for the heart. One of the hardest parts is like not matching the energy. But disarming them with not meeting it is somewhat helpful. But just not conceding, because then they think, oh, okay, well, I was right. And this mindset will continue to perpetuate. And these actions and these reactions are continue to perpetuate.
That's hard.
It is.
Adulting.
It is. The change in your relationships from childhood to adulthood with your parents is not easy. Mm-hmm. No. Not easy, dog. Like.
So how do you transition? What's the transition point? Period. Now?
I think I had a similar experience. I think my transition happened once I got married and left, actually left. And it was like, there's no coming back.
Oh my God.
And
Yeah.
I mean, that sounds like dramatic. My dad has a place for all of us if we want to come back. But I wouldn't go back because I am an adult and I know what I experienced as a young adult living in his space. And I would not put myself back in that situation because you do have that same, like, I don't want to disrespect you because this is your house.
Yeah.
I don't want to do certain things because this is your house. But when I knew I was about to be out, my dad took it very hard. And I think he was trying to hold on to me, but he wasn't doing it in a good way. Like, hold on. Tell me you care. Don't tell me not to do something that I'm already going to do. Or don't say you disapprove when it's not that you disapprove. You just don't. You just don't want me to leave yet. Like, you just want me close. And I have an issue with that. I think we've talked about that on podcasts where I don't always express the emotion. I express the, so you don't call me, you don't do this, you don't do that, you don't want to sit next to me? Am I ugly today? Like, and I think that's the same. He might have that same like mentality. It just comes out differently. So he basically, when I was leaving, had this whole thing, and his wife was like, well, this is a common ground that you guys can have. Da 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 da. I was ready to buy this man a ticket to go with me to Hawaii so that he could officially hand me off, because I think that was like the issue with him.
Yeah.
And he was just like, no, why can't he come here? Okay, you don't want this. You're making it harder. Like, the man is in the military. He can't just leave. But we're willing to take you with us if you really want to, like, give me away. And it never happened. So it wasn't until I actually did my wedding, like, back home, that he was able to give me away and do all the stuff. And now he's happy. Now him and my husband be talking. They be doing what they want to do. And it's like, we could have started from here, because he's the same person. My husband is the same person. He has always been like, like my husband, again, people pleaser. He's like, I just want your dad to like me. I just want this. I just want that. And like, my dad likes everybody. My dad actually does not dislike people. He talks about everybody, but he likes everybody. he will tell you the good and the bad, but he's always at the end, he's gonna be like, but I love them. I love them anyway. Like, he's never, and that's why when it was happening to me, I was like, who is this person? Like, just say what you want to say. But the transition is hard depending on your original relationship and if your parent is ready to let you
prepared.
go.
Yeah. Especially if it comes like, because yours was kind of abrupt. Yeah. So he was like, and he didn't really like, I feel like our situation was seriously. Yeah, I feel like our situations were similar. Yeah. I feel like ours were similar.
My dad had the opportunity, because mine was a little longer than yours. Yeah. We were dating. My dad talked to my boyfriend at the time, but he wasn't understanding, because I wasn't the type to bring people home. So this was the first person he had ever met. Why would I introduce you to him if it wasn't serious? Yeah. And my dad is like, oh, that little boy you were talking to on the phone? Okay. Well, now he's here. He came to visit once before we got engaged. He stayed. Did he stay with us? I'm not sure if he stayed with us or not.
I think he stayed with y'all and he was in the basement.
Either way, I can't remember how it went, but my dad met him several times. He was not taking it seriously. The man proposes to me. My dad was just like, okay. Like, he didn't even talk about it with me at all. I'm engaged now. It didn't click. Until I was like, all right, I'm leaving. He's like, what you mean you leaving? I'm engaged. Like, I'm getting married. What? To who? Don't act brand new. You know to who. But you don't even know him. I don't know him. This
verbatim. Yeah.
You had opportunities, and they had conversations. You didn't ask the proper questions. If you wanted to get to know him, you should have asked proper questions. And it's a little late, because I've already made my decision. And I felt in my whole journey, I felt validated, because literally God was opening doors that were shut. And I was just like, me and God got this. I don't even need you.
And that's where
I think that was the main thing. It was like, I didn't need him for any of it. Even when we did our wedding here, my dad was like, I want you to do it this way. I said, are you paying for it? He was like,
they hate that.
This man wanted to give me money towards it. I declined because I was like, it's not enough. It's not going to cover what you want. And people started calling me, your dad said this and your dad said that, and you're being disrespectful, you're being rude, and you need to apologize to him and take the money. I'm not taking his money. It's not enough for what he wants me to do. And so, yeah, that was a whole thing. But he's great now. Like, we just had
Things round out.
We just had to get past that.
Yeah.
And he now has his grandkids around, and I think everybody's kind of falling. All my siblings have had a similar story. And we're all just going down the line. From the oldest to the youngest, we're all going down that line. And I know Neri will probably be next. He already has gone through a little bit of it, but I don't think it's really clicked.
Yeah.
Because he's not married.
Yeah.
Once he gets married, it's going to be another shift.
Oh, yeah.
And then same for my youngest brother. It's going to be another shift. But because they're boys, theirs is a little bit different. But like my brother that's right next to me, he lived with his girlfriend before they got married. All my brothers lived with their girlfriends before they got married. It could be me though. I was just going to go get married and then live with my husband. And I was like, why? We're going to be married tomorrow. We're going to be married. But they've been living with their girls and doing whatever they want to do.
It's different.
Yes.
It is different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think for me, me and my mom, like my dad has been like, I won't say he's been hands off, but he's been more of like, I understand that you're going to do what you want to do after a certain point. And so like, I want to say around like my senior year of college, he was kind of like, I feel like I've raised you as much as I could. Like I'm like still, I'm gonna still be here for you. I'm still paying for stuff, but I understand you have to make your own decisions. Like I think my dad supported me in a way that he wished he could have had from his father, because his father passed when he was younger. So I think he was just trying to make sure that he was more so supportive and in the background versus like super hands-on, where my mom was the one that was like, I want to make sure I'm guiding you away from the, you know, pitfalls that could be there or things that could have happened. And so anytime there was like a big change in my life, she and I would always clash because I had my way of wanting to go about it, and she had her way of like, I want to control how this happens and make sure that your outcome is what I think should be the outcome. So I think college, we had a big, you know, like me going to college was a big deal. Like she wanted me to go to college, yes, but the way I was, I guess, in college, like it was just an issue. Like, you're going to be on your own. I want to make sure you're doing this, 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 and this. And I'm just like, girl, like, you're not going to be here. So that was an issue. You know, after I graduated, I came back home. I mean, we had, you know, our arguments back and forth because like I didn't have a job right out of college. Like I had to kind of figure it out. And so once I started working, you know, there was just less tension because I was working. But when I wanted to move out, it wasn't as bad, I guess, when I moved out, because it was still like, I was still close. But when I started establishing more independence was always when like there would be a clash. So like when I wanted to buy my own car, she didn't like the car I picked. She didn't like how I went about, you know, going about it. Like she felt like she should have been a part of the process more. Like my dad was there with me buying the car, and she's like, you didn't help her, like help her more. You should have helped her more. And my dad was like, I was here to, you know, make sure that it's not a bad car. Like she got this, you should have helped her negotiate more. And I'm just like, I mean, it's the car I wanted, so I'm fine. But she wanted more for me, which I can appreciate. But I'm like, you can't always stick up for me against me. You know, like I'm my own person. Like you have to let me do things the way I want to do them. And they're not always going to agree with the way you want to do them. And then I think the next one after that was probably getting married. Because like we were dating over the pandemic. I brought him over for Thanksgiving. She already was like, I don't know this man from nowhere. So she kind of grilled him a little bit. But she's like, I mean, I still don't know him, but okay. So when we got engaged, she was like, oh my God, what? And I'm like, yeah, but I think because she thought we had more time, like between us getting engaged and getting married, she was just like, I guess I'll get to know him over this amount of time. And then we were like, we're getting married in October. And she was like, what the heck? And I'm like, ma'am, like, my man's my man. Period. I don't need nobody but my man. And I will forsake all others for my man. So either you on this train or you not. And I think she just wanted more time to really make sure that I was going to be safe. And I think there was also other factors in it, just from like our family history, that she really, really, really like. And it's retrospect for me, like really sitting and thinking about like all that happened and transpired. Like, you know, my family has some history of like domestic violence in it. Like a lot of women in my family have experienced that. So she really, I get it from her perspective of like, I want to make sure that you're not going to end up in this, because we all were there in that love, 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 love. And I'm like, no, Mom, like, trust me. So for me, it's always been trust me, trust my decision making. And for her, it's always let me do. And I'm like, I'm grown. So that's always like, honestly, anytime we have arguments, that's always where we clash. For me, it's like, let me do, trust me. And hers is like, I'm trying to help, I'm trying to protect. And I'm like, I get, but no. So it always happens. It happens at every stage and process of our lives. But I think we're getting to a point where she's really understanding, like, okay, I'm gonna take a step back, but I'm gonna say what I need to say, because she is still my mother. She's still gonna say what she needs to say. She's gonna say her piece, and then she's gonna be like, all right, we good.
I was just gonna ask everybody, actually, because everybody's married here but me. But you know, maybe soon. I was curious as to like how your marriages and your families have influenced your marriages now, like the things that you brought into your marriage from your family or whatever. Because like I feel like I don't see a lot of relationships around me necessarily, but like my boyfriend does, and I think that our views on our marriage and like how we are as people is influenced by like the marriages or lack of that are around.
I think we kind of talked about that in our.
I was like, see, season 2.
we did talk about our parents and how they impacted and what we brought in.
Yeah.
But Sean has been in the corner getting sleepy, so let's get him.
I was gonna throw that right on.
Yes, tell us.
I mean, we talked about this at work the other day too. I think that there are things to take away from all marriages, whether they were good or bad. You can see how people's marriages like went well, and I think there are many attributes you can take from them and bring into your own household. And I think in the same case, like you can do the same thing for things that didn't go well. Like it's still a learning lesson, whether like you went through it, you saw it, you know, you heard about it, it's still something to learn from. And just because like you're in a family where marriages didn't work, that doesn't mean that like it's not gonna work for you, because you're not your parents, you're not your grandparents, you're not your aunts, you're not your uncles, you're your own person. You're in a whole different generation now where you're way more woke, you're way more like aware of the things that have happened. You're aware of generational curses. You're aware of people that have tried to like, let's just not pay this any mind and let's just act like it is never a thing.
We don't see it.
Like, yeah, like that's not really a thing that I think the younger generation is tolerating anymore.
Oh, absolutely.
And
not.
I think that is great.
What happens in this house stays in this house is not a thing.
Right.
Absolutely.
Like I think that is why I think it'll help people's relationships going further. And I think that's exactly why like the gentle parenting movement came out. I think that's why people are more intentional with their children now. Like with not punishing them or giving them consequences, talking to them. That's why you don't see, or you know, at least on social media or like from people that you know you interact with, you don't see them being how our parents were to us, because it's that intentionality that they're bringing into it. It's knowing and learning from the past and acknowledging it. Like many of us have gone to therapy, have gone to counseling, and have been able to identify key issues that have made us one way or another, and then have learned techniques and skills to fight that.
Yeah.
And that's what I think from our conversation before. It was like, don't forget about that. You might be looking at patterns of, okay, well, this happened and this happened and this happened. Okay, but these patterns have happened too. And these patterns are good patterns that I don't think people should ignore. And you know how you are. You know how your significant other is. Don't let everyone else have influence on that.
You know, it's funny because like someone told me, I got married when I was young and it was terrible and I didn't want to listen to my parents when they were telling me, so I'm telling you and you have to. And I was like, okay, in one, out one. But then I had a conversation with one of my closest friends today, and I was telling her like, I'm pretty secure in my relationship. Nothing really shakes me, but am I over here in my little bubble and like living a fantasy and then people looking at me stupid like, girl, you're dumb? Like sometimes I stop and think like, I think I think I'm a part of the generation that is a lot more woke and like nothing goes under the table. Like I don't think by nature I'm oblivious. But I do think that the things that people project onto you seem to they sometimes you just stop and think like does that have any validity?
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's perfectly fine to digest that and think about it.
Yeah.
But in the end, it's your relationship. Like you can take that and do what you want with it. Like what they say does not have to stick.
Two things can be true.
You can look through it. You can figure out like, do I want this? Do I not? If you don't, bye.
That's a shame though. That's the thing. Like if people are in happy, healthy relationships, let's like leave them alone. Like let's not project our own fears and insecurities on other people's relationships. Let's just like not do that. I don't know why that's still even a thing. Like I'm gonna do what I want to do at the end of the day, and I've not really fully secured that down yet. But like within my relationship, yeah, I'm getting to the point where nothing that anyone says, even it just kind of like bounces off my forehead. Like I don't hear you, but I'm here, but I don't hear you. And I think that that's like that's important. But I also think that like examples, like if you had like examples in your household, they're like a happy, healthy, long lasting relationship. That's like, okay, now I see it. It's possible. It mirrors some of the features of my own relationship. Okay, now I know it's true. Now we could go forth and do great things. But if you don't have one or multiple of those, like now I'm just like trusting that my relationship is like the golden standard.
But you can go find them. Just like how we do at work where you don't have a mentor. You go find a mentor. You hop on LinkedIn and you find a mentor. Like, and you find somebody that, you know, is in that same, I don't want to say same situation, but like have gone through similar things that you have gone through. They have like similar morals and goals and values that you have. And then that's okay. Like you can go outside of your bubble. That's perfectly fine. Yeah. I mean, you can have relationships. Like I feel like Moya's a great example because she always says like, I think I want this person to be my like marriage couple mentors. Like,
that's like, cute. I've never heard
there's
that before.
Nothing wrong with that. And they don't have to be your family.
They
don't. You can decide, you know what? I don't think your goals align with mine. I don't think your values, your ethics, like I'm going to go find someone else. Just like you do a mentor. Just like you do.
Especially with that family in 1 year, out 1 year. We be doing that all the time. Me and my husband be like, okay. Okay.
I roll.
Child. Listen.
Oh my God. I definitely think like how you said like there was a shift with your mom like when you got married. I think there's gonna be a shift in like my whole life.
Girl.
Oh my God, my boyfriend said that. He was like,
especially because your mom was everything. So she's like, excuse me, what?
Yes. And I know it. He's like, I can't wait till we're married, and I just want to see the reaction of your family when you're like, when you are in a new phase of life. Like, what is that gonna look like? What is that gonna look like? Because I consult my family for everything. Okay, everything. And I remember that one episode you said that you was gonna call your dad, but your husband was like, you don't have to call your dad anymore. Like, I'm here. I was like, wow, I'm gonna have to learn not to call my mom.
Yeah, it is hard. It's hard when you rely on, because even with my friends, I call my friends and tell them all our business.
Yeah, you got a filter.
Like, oh, I can't tell y'all that. Hold on. I still tell them a lot, but I try to keep some things.
Yeah.
I try to keep some things. Or my husband will be like, "Are you gonna tell your friends this?" I'll be like, is it okay if I do or not? Because it sounds like it's a not. And then I'm like, okay, I guess I won't. But he knows that I tell y'all too much.
All the tea.
Yeah.
I don't think anything's wrong with that. I definitely, I'm interested to see how, like, hopefully I blaze a new trail. So I'm not going to bring along any generational baggage with me on the journey. We shall see.
Yeah, I think something that's important if you get married to the person that you're with now is you guys making that commitment and working through anything that life then throws at you. Because you'll find that once you're married, things that were easy before become hard.
It changes.
And it's like, why? We were so good at this. We were flowing. We were doing this. And now all of a sudden it's difficult. Or you bring kids into the picture and it's a whole nother life shift. And you have to be willing to work through those things. Because a lot of people, I always talk about like when people get pregnant outside of marriage. And I'm like, why they always break up? And I'm like, it's a lot. Women get crazy. And I was one of them women. and at the end of it, like when I finally came to my senses again, because I had my kids back to back. So it was
I was crazy for a little bit.
I was crazy for a good 3 years. 3 solid years of this man dealing with a completely different version of me that he was just like, that's not what I signed up for. But it is what you signed up for. Yeah. And I appreciate my husband like staying strong through it all. Because I was saying all kind of stuff to that man. All kind of stuff. And it wasn't that it was necessarily bad things. It was the delivery.
Yeah.
Because it was the stress of having 2 babies and dealing with the house and dealing with trying to still be a good wife and work. And it was just so much piled on me that I didn't have time to be trying to filter. I can't think. Like, you gonna get the words the way that they come into my brain. And I have to filter. I've learned from our college days that people don't take things the way you think that they're gonna take it. So filter. But that filter went right back off, completely off during that period. And when I came out of it and I talked to my husband, I was like I think I apologized. He might have to confirm, but I'm pretty sure we had a discussion about it. And he was like, yeah, I mean, he had talked to other men previously who told him like, hey, your wife might get crazy. And so he was prepared. And I was like, that's good that you did that. Cause I would have left me. I would have left. But yeah, I'm glad that he prepared himself, and mentor couples are very important. Like having somebody that he can go to and be like, hey, this is what me and my wife are going through. Instead of going to your boys who don't know,
or not
they're
committed,
gonna give you bad advice, or they're gonna be like, why are you taking that? Why are you letting her do this? It's not about letting me, because I'm gonna do what I want. Yes. So get you somebody who has a wife that's similar to mine, or is in a situation that you want to be in. And we have 2 mentor couples, one that we see regularly, and then one that we see like periodically, and they are very different. But we take things from both of them that we like, and if we do have an issue, we're like, we can go to them if we want to about it. But we haven't had any like big issues lately. I think right now we're still, I just filtered through my friends. Should I say this? No? Okay, cool.
Because I'm emotionally, I feel like I'm very similar to her husband. And we lived together, so she knew, like, okay, like, you can't just be, I feel like we definitely like bounce off of each other. Yeah. But I think the bottom line is build your community. Like, you don't have to just accept, like, my family is the only community I have. Like, definitely build what you want your relationship to look like. And it's going to be different than, like, generationally what we experienced or what, we've seen. And, like, it's not something that our parents are used to. Mm-hmm. And so it's going to be hard for them, but they will respect it. Mm-hmm. And I think, and my parents have expressed it several times, that they respect the fact that, like, we are very much like say what you want, but we gonna do what we gonna do, and we will do it with or without you. So how you coming?
Yeah.
How are you coming? You want to be here or you don't want to be here? But we gonna move forward and we will figure it out, because for us, like, it's the health of our marriage. It's what's most important.
Yes.
The health of our relationship is what's most important. And so we found people who felt the same way versus just subscribing to certain traditional mindsets. We found people who felt the same way of, we're going to make sure this relationship is good before we just be out here looking crazy or out here disrespecting each other. No, what's the temperature? What's the pulse? And like, we're still learning how to be flexible with the different seasons and the different changes. That's where that conversation came from, where I was like, dang, like, because I started out talking crazy a little bit. And my husband don't normally talk crazy, but he kind of came back crazy. I was like, oh, we talking crazy now. But I mean, we worked through it, because we were just like, wait. That's not how we are. So let's like pull back the layers. And it's that, let me tell you something. Vulnerability, you think you being vulnerable, and there's always another layer. There's always another level. And it is not easy. It is not. Because you really want to be like, or you think we good. We vulnerable with each other. And it's like, you gotta kind of share that trauma a little bit to understand.
Go deeper.
And go deeper. And it's hard.
Yeah.
It's the hard things.
I'm not a fan.
It's, yeah.
Sean preach vulnerability all the time.
It's funny that Sean preaches that.
I think I'm vulnerable.
He has shared that. He shared that.
I think that y'all
the
just
way
don't
he
take the vulnerability the way that I portray it.
And
I portray it, and then y'all take it a different way.
Yeah.
So then it's like, oh, well, they didn't ended up.
I feel like after we had that conversation, I better understood, like, okay, Sean is one that you ask him questions and he'll answer. And me and Moya are like, no, tell us. Like, I don't want to have to ask. Display. And he's like, display what? I'm open. He's an open book if you ask him the right questions. And we're both not that. With me and her, we just be like,
I also think it's a gender thing too.
Also that, yes.
Because I feel like, and I think we talked about it before, like the conversations that I've had with like Marcus might be different than the conversations I have with y'all. Mm-hmm. So it's just, I don't know.
Men don't be talking, dog.
But we do.
But y'all do.
I feel like if we're talking about Marcus, right? There was a time when I was close to Marcus. He talked. He talked about a lot. And I feel like I didn't have to pull for him to speak. He just was like, this was going on. This was happening. That's how I feel. Like Marcus, well, I shouldn't say that. I won't say it. But there was a time where he expressed an emotion to us and we were just like, okay, what do you need us to do? And he just came out and told us. It wasn't something that we pulled out of him. But I feel like if Sean is struggling, he's not going to come and tell us he's struggling.
But the thing is, I mentioned this earlier. I don't always know those feelings.
Yeah.
So it's not like, so it's like where you're saying like, you got to pull it out. That's why you have to pull it out.
Yeah.
Because I don't know.
He doesn't know how to,
So it's like, oh, I mean, like we've had plenty of conversations at work where it's going and I'm like, I realized this.
Yeah.
You know, like today we were talking at work and I was going through my whole like thought process and I was like, kind of don't pay this any mind because I'm running through an entire
It's a collaborative effort
scenario.
kind of thing.
Yeah, so I was like,
it's a collaborative
my thoughts
effort.
are similar, so it's okay. Like,
So it was like, I'm going to run through this. But like, you went back and forth with me where it was like, all right, we're going to get here together.
Yeah,
but like sometimes if you're not helping me get there, then I'm just not going to get there.
Yeah. And we also won't see it. Like if you figured it out on your own, you're still not going to come back.
Yeah, because then it's like,
so
done.
That's I think that is the balance that we're trying to still figure out, because to you, you're being vulnerable. To us, it's like,
I think I'm more understanding because my husband is similar to him too. Because my husband is a very like, okay, well then let's peel back these layers.
Yeah, and vulnerability looks different for everybody. Like,
oh yeah,
I'm very like with Desmond is a prime example. I feel like I'm only vulnerable with him. I'm like trying to let it spill over in other places, but I'm like he'll ask me a question. I'm like, he's like, how do you feel? And I have a hard time putting names to feelings. I'm very good at, what is it called? Like self-reflection and like analyzing my own thoughts. I can speak through how I feel if you give me time to think about it and sit on it. And me being vulnerable is like, he's like, how's your day? My day was not that good. And how do you feel? I'm a little sad. Why? We'll talk about it later. But I opened up. I told you how I feel. I gave you my emotion. We'll talk about the logistics once I process. But they're not processed yet. So you're going to have to give me a little bit of time. I think, like, I don't know, being vulnerable feels like the most uncomfortable, like you turning my skin inside out.
You're exposing your squishy parts.
Yeah.
And it's the fear. And there's a little fear there that, like, if I expose my squishy parts, will I still be worthy? Will I still be loved? Will you attack it? Am I giving you ammunition? Because it's the safety part too. So it's like, am I giving over ammunition? And so, like, that's, again, it's that collaborative part a little bit for both of us, just in different ways.
Yeah.
Because when I feel like I'm being vulnerable, there's still another layer that's deeper that I may not be exposing because I still haven't processed it enough to the point where I feel safe to share it. Because I don't want to realize the fact that I'm still not secure in certain parts, but that's marriage, unfortunately. Like, it's you day to day. Like, we sharing. And you'll notice, especially when you live together, like, because we didn't live together before we got married. So when you live together, it's just like, wait,
it's different.
It's just different. It's different. It's definitely different. But it's a beautiful journey.
It's crazy that as you grow up, you learn emotions. Oh my God. What? Like, it makes me sick.
Do we? Yeah.
I literally don't, like, I feel like I'm in my, like, transformative stage. Like, I'm unfolding my layers and, like, I'm a plant and I'm, like, blooming or whatever. But, like, learning that I have to sit with my feelings sometimes and understand myself so that other people can understand and they can help me and I can be vulnerable and other things. That process within itself is, like, I feel like something that you learn when you're older.
Yes.
I'm just now learning.
Definitely.
We're all still learning it.
And we're still learning.
Every day.
Yeah.
Every day.
It should be something that's like a light switch.
I wish.
Is anything a light switch?
I know. I wish. I wish. We'll get there.
Yeah.
Because we grown.
Question mark? Nobody else? Okay.
Are we?
Well, I guess that concludes this episode. Hope you guys enjoyed. Thank you again for coming back on
this has been
our
amazing.
show.
Thank you.
Thank you guys. This was fun. I can do this every day.
Might have to have you back. Psych.
Not psych.
Not psych. I mean, you
Y'all let us know in the comments if you want her back on.
Yeah. Let us know.
Speaking of comments, remember to comment, like, subscribe, all of that.
Share.
Yeah,
tell a friend to tell a friend.
All the things.
Bye.
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 Love y'all.